The bar went silent the moment the bottle shattered over his head. Laughter echoed, cruel and careless, until the old man finally lifted his eyes. There was no anger in them, just patience. And something deeper, something that made every man in leather freeze where he stood. That night they learned why silence is never weakness. The night had the stale scent of spilled beer and cigarette smoke. A dimly lit bar sat at the edge of town, filled with the low hum of conversation and the rough laughter of men who lived on the road. At a corner table, an elderly man sat quietly nursing a bottle of root beer. His hands were steady, his posture straight, and his eyes calm, observant, unshaken by the noise around him. Then came the insult. "Wash yourself, old-timer," the biggest man in the room growled, his voice laced with mockery. Before anyone could react, he tilted his bottle and poured the drink over the old man's head. Laughter erupted like thunder, echoing off the walls. The old man didn't move. The liquid ran down his face and onto his sweater, pooling on the table. He didn't raise his voice or his hands. He simply looked at the man standing over him, a quiet gaze that seemed to see far more than the moment. Something in that calm unnerved the crowd. For a brief, strange second, no one laughed. His name was Mr. Elijah Brooks, a man who had walked through more storms than most could imagine. Decades ago, he had taught self-defense to young soldiers overseas. Before that, he had studied under a quiet master who believed the truest form of strength was restraint. Elijah had buried friends, taught children discipline, and spent years showing others that peace was not the absence of power. It was the control of it. Now, he was a retired karate instructor, living alone after his wife's passing. Every morning he walked to this bar, not for the beer, but for the quiet company. It reminded him of the dojo's rhythm, the stillness before a strike. The silence before truth revealed itself. But tonight, that silence was being tested. The gang around him was known in town for their noise, men who mistook fear for respect. Their leader, Brock, was a mountain of tattoos and bravado, a man who had built his identity on being the loudest in the room. He towered over Elijah now, sneering, waiting for a reaction that didn't come. "What's the matter, old man? Cat got your tongue?" Brock said, leaning closer. Elijah's voice came slow and quiet, each word balanced and deliberate. "No, I just choose my battles carefully." The men around Brock laughed again, though less sure this time. There was something disarming about the calmness in Elijah's tone, like a wave that recedes before a storm. Elijah wiped his face gently with a napkin and took another sip from his bottle. Not beer, root beer. The detail seemed to irritate Brock even more. "You think you're better than us?" he barked. "You just gonna sit there and act like nothing happened?" Elijah looked up once more, meeting Brock's eyes fully this time. "No," he said softly. "I'm just wondering if you know what happens when you push a man who's done holding back." The laughter stopped. The air thickened. And for the first time that night, silence felt dangerous. One of the bikers shifted uneasily. Another muttered under his breath, recognizing something in Elijah's stance. The stillness in his shoulders, the weight balanced in his feet. It wasn't submission. It was control. Brock's smirk faltered. "You threatening me, old man?" Elijah shook his head. "No, I'm warning you. Before Brock could react, he reached for Elijah's shoulder. That's when the room seemed to blur. In a single, fluid motion, Elijah stood, moved, and redirected Brock's arm with effortless precision. The massive man found himself on the floor before he even understood what had happened. The crash of the table sent bottles rolling, the laughter died instantly, and the bar fell into stunned silence. Elijah didn't move further. He didn't raise his fists. He simply looked down at the man who moments ago had mocked him. "I don't fight to hurt," Elijah said quietly. "I fight to remind people that respect is earned, not taken." The other bikers stepped back, unsure whether to help their leader or stay out of it. Elijah's calm was terrifying in its clarity. His breathing was steady, his eyes kind but unyielding. There was no pride in his posture, only peace. Brock, red-faced and shaken, struggled to stand. But when he met Elijah's gaze again, the defiance melted into something else: shame. He muttered a few words under his breath, something close to an apology, and backed away toward his crew. Elijah straightened his sweater, nodded once, and sat back down. The bartender, who had been frozen in place, finally spoke. You okay, sir?" Elijah gave a small, tired smile. "I'm fine, son. I've seen worse nights." The bar stayed quiet for a long time. Then, one by one, the other patrons began to approach Elijah, not to pity him, but to shake his hand. A young man whispered, "My father used to talk about you. Said you taught at the community center years ago." Elijah just smiled. Your father had good form. As the bikers slipped out, heads lowered, the tension dissolved. What replaced it was something stronger, a quiet respect that filled the room like sunlight after a storm. Before leaving, Elijah turned to the bartender and said, "Peace doesn't mean being weak. It means knowing you could win and choosing not to." That line stayed in the bartender's mind long after Elijah walked out into the night. Later, he would tell the story to anyone who'd listen, not as a tale of violence, but as one of grace under pressure. I just choose my battles carefully. Respect is earned, not taken. Peace doesn't mean being weak. It means knowing you could win and choosing not to. Some heroes don't wear uniforms. Some don't speak loudly or carry weapons. Their strength is in their silence, their control, and their refusal to meet hate with hate. If this story moved you, share where you're watching from, and let others know that true power isn't in the fight. It's in the peace that follows. Subscribe, like, and share for more stories that honor the quiet strength of everyday heroes.